Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Plans B meeting for Harpenden Town Council. Before I start going through our agenda, can I please point out, I know our committee understands, that we are only here in an advisory capacity. We have no power to actually, other than we pass our comments forward to St Albans. The ultimate decision is taken by St Albans District Council and indeed their planning officers. I can just point that out. So although we make comments here tonight, we have no jurisdiction in taking things any further. Okay. Can I also point out to you all, the meetings now are recorded, not webcast, but we have television or video recording. So as long as you're happy to be recorded by anything you may ask or say, please stay. Okay. Thank you. Right. Do we have any apologies for absence?
No, Chairman, we have no apologies.
Sean here. Do we have any declarations of interest? Right. Minutes of the last meeting on 29th September. Last year. Everybody received them? Happy with them?
Yes.
Okay. I'll manage. Do we have any public questions?
No.
That's okay. Thank you. We have an agenda, but as we've got people in the audience interested in two particular applications, I will do those at the beginning rather than asking you to listen through the next time. I'm going through all the deliberation on trees and everything else we do. So I will be doing those two applications first. Yes. So do you want to do Westway first?
Yes, sure.
So we'll do 12 Westway first, if that's all right. And if we have the speaker who's going to object first, which is Kate Harpenden. Would you like to approach the table, please? Just one page, please.
Yeah.
On page 10 of your agenda.
The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So my name's Kate Netherton and I live at the adjoining property number 14 Westway. And you probably know from your notes the history of the application. This is the third application. The first one was withdrawn, the second one was refused, and this is the third one. So my concern with this third application is that I think the changes that have taken place since the second one are really quite minimal. As far as I can tell, there has been a reduction in the height of the roof, but that looks to be quite small. My estimate is around 40 centimetres, but I'm working to the plan, so I'm not completely sure of that, but a modest reduction. There has been a 25 centimetre articulation to the proposed upper story of the wall of the proposed development facing our house. So about 10 metres in, it's set back 25 centimetres. So, I mean, I'll talk in a moment about what the impact of this development will be on us. But first of all, say we're not, in principle, opposed to development here. We recognise that development will take place. That's just how things are. But for us, we think what's proposed will be overbearing. It's not a big plot and it's going to be a large house. It reduces the separation between our house and the proposed development. And it changes the relationship between the buildings that originally existed. So in terms of impact on us, I think there are two main areas. One is that there will be a loss of light, and this has been quite a contentious issue over the applications. But creating an additional story on top of what exists at the moment, albeit by way of a new dwelling, plus substantially increasing the footprint, will have a big impact on the light for us, for all the windows that face that particular property. Now, only one of those is material in planning terms, and that is what's described in the application as, or in the light survey as, window 11, which is to our family room / dining room. And we will lose around half of the light that we currently receive to that window. It varies depending on the measure, and that breaches the BRE standard. Now, there is a subsidiary standard, a secondary measure, if you like, and that states that that loss of light is acceptable because of the circumstances, the relationship between the two properties. However, I do have concerns about this particular light survey, and I haven't got time to go into details here, but I have looked at it in a lot of detail, and there are some discrepancies in the data which I can talk to you about in more detail if you would like later. The other thing is, the other major impact is that it will be very overbearing at the rear, because it's going to come out 5.5 metres beyond the back of our house, and 4 metres of that will be at 2-storey level. So that's going to take it 4 metres beyond the back of ours at, first floor level, and that's well beyond the established rear building line on Westway. And I've got 2 pictures that I took today that sort of give an indication out of our bedroom. This one is looking out of our bedroom down the hill of Westway. So you can see that, you can just see the rear of those buildings there. And then looking up, so basically the proposed development will come out 2-storey level, 4 metres beyond the back of ours and further beyond. And then this is looking up the hill from the back of our house towards the proposed development. And I don't know how clearly you can see that, but this is the line of approximately where it will come at 2-storey level. So you can see at that point it's going to extend beyond all the properties going up the hill as well. So for that reason, we ask you to recommend refusal of the application. And I have got more detail on the issues around the light survey.
No, don't worry about that. What I would say is, I've been out and visited the site today. Unfortunately, although I'm a district councillor, and I do sit on Flats North actually for the district council, I have no right to come and look at the rear or look at any properties other than from the road until guided by the district council. So I wasn't able to see other than from the front as it exists at the moment from the road front of it. But if I can just say that. Right, that's fine for you. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, thank you.
My name's Trevor Tizon. I'm the Director at CMYK Planning and Design. We're actually the agents for this planning application, as we have done on the previous 2.
Right.
As you know, we've had one withdrawn, one refused already. the three main points for refusal on the last application. One of those was that it was not in keeping with the original building. That relates specifically to extensions. As this new application isn't an extension, it's a new build. The change in application type came with a recommendation from the planning officer. As far as I'm concerned, that negates point one. The second was a lack of light into the family room, dining room at number 14, as you just heard. Building research establishment has very clear criteria as to what does and what doesn't remove light and what is acceptable and what isn't. We've had reports done. Another report was done which refuted one report, and they got into a bit of wrangling between the two. So a decision was made to use the figures that came from the third party, from number 14, and to use that as a basis. The upshot of that was, in order to comply with the BRE guidelines, the eaves of both buildings would need to be at the same level. And that's why in the new application the building has been reduced, as in the floor level has been reduced, by between 600 and 700 mil to get those eaves at exactly the same position. Once those are at the same positions, the BRE light study that's been submitted with this application clearly shows that it's now compliant with their guidelines and recommendations. The final reason for refusal on that was a somewhat subjective lack of a meaningful articulation on the flank walls, in that they were saying there was too much without anything going on, effectively. After quite a lot of communication and backwards and forwards with the local authority, which has gone through all the way through, it was agreed that if we could reduce the width, albeit even slightly towards the rear of the building, so the final 6 metres of the building have been reduced in width, that would provide the physical articulation, and on top of that we change the material, which would give us a material articulation as well. So doubling up on the visual impact by doing that, almost making it look like two separate entities. We're now in a situation where we've made our third application, which has no issues with principle of development. As we know, that this site is prime for development. This happened before on this particular road. It's happened next door. There's no issue with the size of this property. All of the planning policy criteria regarding size and mass of development on a particular plot of that size are policy compliant. Distances to the bottoms of buildings, distances to boundary walls either side, 45-degree rulings for light and for visual impact from the rear of adjoining properties, all of these are policy compliant. Now that we've produced the building in its entirety, we've got no issue with the rights of light, which is pointed out in the BRE report that we've submitted. It's also important to point out with regard to distances backwards into the garden. This building is built on the footprint of the original building. It doesn't extend any further back than the original building did. It's only extended to the side, and that represents only an 11% increase in the footprint of the building over what was built originally. As far as we're concerned now, this is a fully compliant application. There is no policy reasons for refusal on this. It aims to provide a family house for the south to bring up their family. That's all I've got to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I just clarify one thing?
Yeah.
Your appeal on the earlier this year's application is still going ahead. You haven't withdrawn that.
No. And the reason that we've got an appeal...
I'm always puzzled by when somebody puts an application in, when the inspector's looking at it in that respect.
There was a BRE report produced for a right of light.
Right.
The lady behind me at number 14 commissioned her own. And there's a refute between the numbers that we use between the two. Both produced by independent professional bodies, but there's an argument between what is and what isn't, and he says yes and they say no. That's grounds enough from our point of view to run an appeal in alongside this application, because as far as we're concerned, there's nothing to say that the one BRE report is right and one BRE report is wrong at the moment, and it needs that third party to make a subjective or to make an objective decision on it, which is why both are running. If it was clear cut, we'd have just taken the refusal, changed everything, the second application has been done to go, okay, your figures are different to ours, we don't agree with your figures, you don't agree with ours, so what we'll do is we'll redesign it to make sure it complies with your figures, regardless of whether we agree with them or not, and that's what our new BRE report will prove.
Can I also clarify one other thing, please? Sorry to ask you this. If the officer, if the inspector comes up to grant the earlier application, but district turned down your new application, where do we stand? Where do you stand? What move would... have you thought of that?
If we granted permission...
If the inspector grants you on the refused one, but the district council refuse your new application, will you construct as per the original application, or will you appeal the new one?
Well,
I'm sorry, I was just trying
I can't answer that. It's not my application. I'm an agent only.
Right.
I would imagine if it were me, and probably if it were you, you're after a permission to build so you can build a house. The differences between the two have only come about some niggling over some numbers that I'm sure I don't understand. I'm sure you understand.
Well, we're not qualified in that.
Exactly.
To
which is why they're running concurrently.
Right.
Given
okay, I was just puzzled by that.
I don't, don't want to keep appealing for the
No.
If you're going to get planning permission, you're going to build, aren't you?
Indeed. No. It was just I was more referring back to thinking back to the earlier last year one.
Can I ask what relevance that has?
I was just curious, sitting on the planning committee at district.
Okay.
When would these come up? Will we have an appeal and a new application?
Yeah.
The officers have to explain to us at Plans North exactly what the current situation is and how they view. Obviously, they can't make a decision that an inspector's making, but they guide us then regarding that.
Yeah.
We obviously, in this environment, I don't have any planning guidance from any officer who's going to make the ultimate decision. I was more curious.
The strange thing is that the second application, or third, we'll call it the second application that's gone in, is actually a little bit more preferential to the one that's going to appeal. So should you get planning permission for this one, it's more likely that we want to build this one and then build one anyway. If both come in, what do? You should come in, but probably go for this one.
Sorry, I haven't got it on the internet in front of me. Has this actually been called in to point to anybody?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Hopefully not at all.
It's not my district, I can't. No, I was more puzzled by whether it was going to come to Plans North as a thing, because quite often when there is a controversial application, it comes to Plans North, and then it becomes a little bit more, we get a lot more detailed on the application itself.
Sure. Anything else?
Thanks very much. Sorry, I was...
No.
That was my...
Can I just ask you
sorry.
some clarification?
Yes, one clarification.
Okay, it's just that that's the planned view of all the houses along Westbourne, and that's Westway. That's where this will come out into rear Harpenden, right? And so at present, the bungalow, there's a single-storey extension at the back, and so that's going to be replaced by a two-storey.
Part of it is, not all of it.
Not all of it.
No. The single story. I've got some drawings that might help. If you look at the side elevation or the proposal, I don't know if it's on the screen.
No.
Here we go. Right, you've got the same thing there. So if you look on the side elevation on the top right of that drawing, the rear line of that is exactly the same as the rear line of the single story extension. So this line here is exactly the same position. Sorry.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
And then that comes in a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is how we've managed to do this with just an 11% increase in footprint size, because it's only gone out a little bit to the side and only at ground floor level, which means that, of course, extending at ground floor level is completely, building at ground floor level is a completely different fish to building at second floor level.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
So, doing that
Okay,
Well done.
that's fine. I think what you need, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, committee. Any comments?
Personally, I think it is overbearing, actually, compared with the other properties. I think it is, actually.
I think I'd share a similar view based on things we've seen in the past and the fact that it's gone to 2 stories. I am concerned that it's overbearing on neighbouring properties.
I personally think if it came back to this line, or say single story where it is right now, that would be fine. It's just though I just think it's out of character with the rest of the houses, actually.
Canfield.
I'm struggling at the moment. I'm trying to visualise the actual difference. Well, if it was to, at one point there, we're talking the existing bungalows far enough to make these 2-storey and technically going to 3 because we've got rooms in the roof. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But it's quite a small bungalow right now. I've seen it from the outside.
So we've got notifications on it before.
Yeah, it's a small bungalow from the front, but it goes back some way because it's a single
Yeah,
story
that's
section.
right. Trying to look from the road and trying to work it out.
So there is a mitigation on the rear where it comes to the end of the prison lane, but it comes in a bit, but it's not a huge amount, actually. But I just think it's a...
So it may
It's
be
quite a
on the
massive
existing
structure.
footprint, but
Yes.
it's obviously 2 stories now rather than, or 3 stories as such, yeah.
Yes. I think it's still, to me, it still looks quite a massive structure and out of keeping.
I think especially as you go towards the back.
I would tend to that theory. Whether I wish to go along the theme so far of refusal, I'm wondering whether I wish to express concern. But obviously there's 3 others of you there. That's just my personal view. That I think,
I mean, the previous
and
one,
my caveat on it would be that it has addressed the original concerns of St Albans District Council.
Yeah. And the ones that were laid out by St Albans District Council.
see, we refused it before, saying size and scale and the overbearing impact on number 14.
So does that different?
Because it's still 3 stories.
It's still the same bulk, isn't it? Yeah.
I think it's still the same. I think from a pure technicality, you might argue that they've addressed the issues raised there, but it's still a very
It's
large
still reduced the height,
property.
only very slightly.
My feeling is that it should really just be in line with the other properties.
Well, as I said, I couldn't see the rear this afternoon when I went to work, so I wasn't in a position to actually see, but seeing the plans behind that, I'm tempted to agree with you.
Yeah. Or if it was like single story going
Single
down at the
story,
back.
single story,
That's right.
the extension at the back.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
Yeah.
I'd be happy with that. Also.
So are we going to say we're concerned about the loss of amenities for number 14 and because of the 2 oblique 3-storey element? And well, they can still recommend that it's refused with that in mind.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Are you happy with that?
We are some reservations, but I'm
So
very borderline on this one.
Yeah.
We're concerned by the lack of amenities for number 14, and the sheer height, 2 oblique 3 stories, which was the reason before.
I mean, his actual projection backwards indeed makes no material difference, but the height.
No, but separately, 2-story high does.
Yeah.
Are we happy with that?
Can I clarify?
Could I ask you to look at the street scene before you make a decision, if you wouldn't mind?
Sorry, we have no power. We only make a comment on the actual application.
Sure,
I mean, this information is passed to St Albans, and the actual officer, because I'm in a difficult position. I've not been on the site to see the rear. I only have the information from the neighbour at 14 and the plans I have before me.
One of which is the street scene.
Sorry?
One of which is the street scene.
Yeah, but not the street scene from the rear, standing in the garden.
No.
I mean, I tried to Google this today and look at it from above, and I cannot work out if it is coming back, the dimensions that says it's coming back. Sorry, we're not in a position to have a debate with a spokesman for either party. As I said right at the beginning, we are only here to pass our comments as Harpenden Town Councillors on our view of the application before us. With any evidence we have the evidence from a neighbour, but we are not technical people.
No.
And therefore we're only councillors, I should say.
Right, because you're talking about the height of the building, and the building is not as tall as the building next door. That's why I'm asking you to look at
I was only making a comment about it being 3 stories.
But it's still not as tall as the building on number 14, which is a new build which got passed. That's what our agent suggested. Number 14 got developed, is actually one of the tallest buildings in that street. We have tanked our building by 70 centimetres, and we are still
Sorry, we're not. Sorry, you weren't booked in to speak. Sorry, I must call an end to this. We've made our comments. As I said before, we have no power. Our comments go forward to St Albans. The actual planning officer will do their deliberation, consult you, consult number 14, view it from the garden, every view, and then we'll make their decision. You know, because you know what the system is, because you've gone through it already with the application that's on appeal. We are going to judge as we see it in front of us. You know, some applications, some comments we make are agreed by St Albans, some are not. But sorry, we can't have a debate.
No, that's fine.
Okay. So if you're welcome to stay, or you're welcome to go, whatever you like to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, can I have the hands back off?
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Okay. Just 100 is right. It's on page 11.
This is for demolition of existing building, erection of 2 5-bedroom detached dwellings.
You've been printing it,
What's that, sir?
you've been printing it.
Yeah, I have, yes, I've been to visit this place as well.
I've highlighted proposed ones in green for you on the membership.
Yeah. I don't think we've all had a chance to see the site. I mean, this is a big corner site on the edge of Crestwell and Meadway. Indeed, it even has a swimming pool in the back garden at the moment. It's I mean, reading the application and the plans for the site, I personally have no the site's big enough to take two properties, although the actual amenity land is going to be very small towards the rear when you've added two houses onto that plot. Although it's big at the moment for one house, it's not going to leave a lot of space towards the rear. I know it complies with the rules on it, but because it's going to be like a triangular plot as such. I know I said Crestwell, it's actually Croftwell. I know the concerns from several of the residents in Croftwell have been the fact that applications to add another storage properties in Croftwell has always been turned down because the estate here they haven't allowed them to increase their roof. Now this one is the highest point in the Meadway. It's already starting off at 3 stories, 2 big 3 stories, and I know this has been the concern of several of the neighbours since the application was put in. If I can also say, and I don't know whether anybody's picked it up already, in respect of the neighbour at number 98 has already had to have their house underpinned due to subsidence. They're very concerned that any kind of excavation for a cellar, a basement as such, may not help their underpinning they've already got on their property. It's quite close to number 98. I know it's legally close, but still
not a planning consideration,
it's
more a building regulation.
It is a building regulation, but obviously it was a concern that had been raised.
I visited this. I know this house quite well because it's on the stairs actually. But all the houses around there have got the same sort of roof height, and my main concern was this roof height. And consistency, the third floor has been denied other people. What's changed?
Yes, I do know that people in Meadway have that, but they're lower down the hill as such.
Yes.
It's Croftwell opposite.
Yes.
Were turned down.
Yes. But my feeling on it was I felt that they could squeeze 2 houses in, but I just felt that they were too high. So I feel that the plan should be modified. I guess that's where they've got the 5th bedroom and the roof. But could it be more in keeping with the area? That's why I'm saying roof height. That's one thing.
You would have to see.
I had a chance to visit.
Looking at Croftwell opposite, the houses would be fairly, well, not too close, be fairly close to the new house that would be built on the corner there. So it would be quite obvious that the roof height is quite dramatically increased, actually. It can either be a concern raised on roof height or recommend refusal based on roof height.
I was going to express concern
Mm-hmm.
with the usual caveat of how in keeping it is with the neighbouring properties.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my concern looking at the plan, is that there are a lot of houses down the road that are very similar and
Well, Crosswell's a whole estate
Yeah.
of Crosswell
They
and all
all
at the same time.
they look nice houses, particularly where this is going to be located.
But most of the extensions they've built have been to the rear or to the side.
No, I
They
understand.
haven't changed the roof.
That's right. Yes,
Yeah.
the roof to me is the biggest
Mm.
impact, particularly if other people have been refused, that option.
Plus, I just express concern over the height.
are you happy with the houses otherwise?
I think so.
I mean, they're very big, two very big houses for the actual size of the plot. They comply with, I think, everything going. It's just the...
That does raise a further, does raise a further concern is then with permitted development rights as to quite exactly what we would be left with amenity land. That would be another small concern. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, on a point of information. But where do we stand on permitted development rights? Do the district council still operate the bit of actually denying permitted development rights? Well, they would put a caveat on the ancient days, phrase it that way, in a formal line, that they would withdraw permitted development rights.
Well, but yeah,
Does that still exist?
Yeah, they will still put conditions on certain things, yeah.
Would they mean to build it as two stories and then add the roof on afterwards?
That's one way that you can do it, as well as I was thinking more into going to the land, and then obviously there is the later going into the roof.
Yeah, you mean to do further development?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still expressing concern. I'm not recommending refusal in any way. I'm just expressing concern.
I think you can add to. I think it's only existing built properties that you've got. I haven't. Well, I mean, we can say. I mean, the neighbour at 98 has raised concern regarding the size, the bulk, and the basement. Because I think it will go back quite a long way. Although next to it is only their garage, I hadn't realised, sorry. But
I'm not so concerned over basement, I believe that will be taken into consideration by building regulations. I don't think that's a real...
No, the height.
I know it's a concern for the neighbour.
Yeah.
And again, that the sun on the ground is not seen.
It's a good point, Chris. These extensions are really...
The fact it's on a triangular plot, I've had no difficulty with it. It was on a conventional size shaped plot.
I wouldn't be minded to express an emotion to I'm with you and expressing concern.
I think because it is the top of the hill as such, it's going to help the highest point of the hill.
Both Councillor Kelly and I are saying so far express concern.
Yeah, I think so. I think there was another concern expressed about traffic, but there'd still be plots and you can see all.
I mean, lots of reports.
But I don't run that one.
Well, Sorry.
Just ask one quick question. Just building on council comments on the extended development. If this property wanted to extend at the rear, then they break the 45-degree line. So is that a condition that we could put on to that property?
District might put conditions on, but
I think there's a concern that we would want to flag it up to district that we're concerned with regards to the
They might
development
address
rights.
it when it
Yes.
comes to it, they
Yes.
might just
we could say height and bulk,
Yes. Yes.
and because I don't think we can say the impact of
Street safety.
98 because it's only garages next door.
Yes.
So we're concerned by the height and the bulk.
That's right.
But can we get into the rights or not?
No, we don't have no. It's nothing to do with that. Because the application would have to go to district anyway, so it will become by us.
Sorry, again on the
The
point.
application
Do you have to apply for a certificate of lawfulness? Right, okay, fine.
You still have to go through the system.
Yeah. I've just...
Although it might be just rubber stamp.
Yeah.
You still
I've
need
just
to
got
go through the...
too close to me on extremely small pots. Go into then you've got... Ouch. Yeah, it doesn't affect.
So, are we
regarding height and bulk, roof height.
roof height?
roof
Yes.
height.
Roof height.
Yes.
Quite well, the massive
I don't
issue.
think there's a privacy issue here with the there's some distance from all.
Well, I think it's because they've got the garages down the
Yes,
side. I
yes.
think it's quite a long way away.
Yes.
Do you want to flag up when you have the testimony?
What, number 98?
Number 2.
Oh, number 2, Croftwell.
Yes. I think
Well, they've raised concern again.
What number are they?
Number 2.
number 2.
Croftwell.
Yes,
I mean, both sides of it have raised concern,
Yes.
but
So just and potentially affect the neighbouring properties. I think it's probably a way just to get to flag that as they look at it
That's right,
a little
yes.
bit more closely.
Yes.
and recommend refusal.
Oh.
What's
And
the
recommend
there?
refusal.
Do you think so?
I think, well, I don't know because they won't reduce the height without the changing the fifth bedroom. Or do you think that's taking it too far? Committee, please guide me.
Please.
I think if I was living in these properties in Croftwell here, I would be worried about the sheer height of this actually.
Yeah, I think we are worried.
Two refusals, two concerns at the moment.
Well,
Chair's casting vote.
well, I think because of the aspect on the other developments surrounding, I think again I recommend refusal. Not against the development there, because I always thought it is a possible to be developed site. Just the sheer size of these two houses on this triangular plot.
And the fact there's bulk and there's two bulky ones there as well.
But guided by you.
Well, so you've got two so far.
Well, my recommendation would be to refuse in the application, to recommend refusal in the application that we have before us.
Because they can always then go back and restructure it to the 4-bedroom.
No,
But change the roof
but
height.
I'm not against the development. I personally am not against the development there. I'm just against this is particularly high.
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
I think it'll be a sticking point, so I'm persuaded.
Yeah.
I mean, something will be constructed there, but it's not.
Without a doubt.
They're not this height, or not this size.
Okay.
They're okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Sorry about that, Tim. But we have to go through the procedure. That's fine, thank you. Yeah, well, so we're back to the beginning of the agenda. Sorry about that. Right, there's two or three. So I'll go with Callum. Right, first on the list, 2015, 2325, replacement bowling hall roof for the indoor bowl centre. I haven't really any comments on this, other than the fact I've seen the application. I presume they will comply with all the rules and regulations to do it, and it needs a new roof.
Yeah.
I agree with the officer's recommendation.
Yeah.
As laid out.
Next one, 5/2015, 2654, part 2, part single story extension, part garage conversion with habitable room, etc., etc. Replacement windows, raised patio. I would tend to agree completely with what you said. No one has objected to this as yet.
If you put it into line with what's happened in general
yes.
on Swansea Avenue, this is fairly modest, so
We've
absolutely
got
no
no one
problem with it
further
at all.
But no, I agree completely with what you said. As long as no loss of unity, I'm quite happy.
Yeah. 5/2015,
2668, alterations and partial demolition of existing dwelling and construction of detached 3-bedroom dwelling with associated parking at 1 Westwood Drive, Harpenden. Now, I do see in the letters that are on the internet that district have wrongly advised. I've looked up either on Google or otherwise, and I've worked out the people who are on the adjoining boundary, and I've notified the wrong people.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm not sure you've got a letter or whether...
I've got it copied here.
Oh, so it was on the internet, was it? Sorry, I couldn't remember where I picked it up from.
I copied and pasted it on there. I can leave that sheet with you if you help you.
Okay. Right.
So I only hope that in the notification of people that they have to do in the required time, that they have actually picked the letter up and now adjusted it.
Have they not notified somebody, or they just notified too many people?
No, they haven't notified the actual correct person who
Oh,
actually
right,
joined
okay,
us.
that needs to be
The
addressed.
problem with regards to appeals and things, right?
They seem to have notified everybody else in the road, but not the right person.
Well, should it not be considered here tonight?
No, that's nothing to do with us, but it's just that it's...
Yes.
I would only... My only concern is that district have done things
Right.
correctly.
Mm.
Now, this one, this is strange.
I mean...
What did you know? They're going to knock down a
Like half of it.
two-storey Thomas extension.
How good is your house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's not exactly a wide house, but it's 3 stories high.
Yeah.
And it's sort of...
Wait, so it's the one with the...
I mean, if I'm permitted to say, it's not in keeping with the design of other houses in the locality. I don't think.
Well, when you look at the actual map, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to put it in. The one on here, it does look like they're going to put it in. Especially seeing as it's the way, looking at it there, you don't think they'll put anything in, and I actually have trouble finding the right house.
I know that was the rear.
Mm.
Yeah. mean, I've been down this road, it's very tight, parking, cars everywhere.
Well, actually, that street scene there, the photograph, just gives you just a glimpse. There's parking all the way down the pavement, all the way down.
So I would be, I mean, it says they're giving associated parking.
Yeah, that's what they're doing, they're creating parking along all the front garden.
Yeah, but you can only have one drop down.
Right, okay.
You can't block off the whole of your front. You're only allowed to have.
Especially when it's on the corner, so Crabtree Lane is a busy road.
Because the school,
Because of the school, and then it's on the corner of another road.
Yeah. It's very squeezed in.
I mean, that will only actually get them. They can't have two parking spaces. You can't
No.
design your front garden to get you two parking spaces.
Well,
You can only have one
part
drop.
of this is pavement.
It's pavement
Yes.
and they're parking on it.
They're parking, and in Bedfordshire, there's a rule for how close a car can be to a window.
I think
I think
there is one here actually.
Yeah.
We had this right in,
But,
but
and I also felt this, I wondered if the diagram was correct, because if they've got another bedroom in the is that height the same as the trade?
I'm also very confused about how it's even going to fit in the street scene as...
Somebody's biggered it with the one there already.
Yeah, you see, what they're doing is, see, this is the current house.
Yeah.
So they're removing part of it here.
So they're removing the bit you can see here where the line is. So there's a line in the roof.
Yeah.
So they're taking that out.
Taking the existing extension away
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
and putting it into two
So that's my
but
outline.
obviously that, because it'll be on the same site, will add 2 or 3 requirement, 2 or 3 more parking spaces,
Yeah.
which that was available.
Yes.
Regarding amenity space, they need 80 kilometres and then...
Okay, so,
recommended.
so it's recommended.
God, we're looking at refusal tonight. It's very bad.
Due to lack of insufficient parking, insufficient space,
It is technically, it's not saying no, but forever it's just saying no.
Overcramped street scene or overdevelopment site street scene.
I mean, the thing was, in 2007, as you can see from your agenda, a single-storey rear extension was granted by district, although we recommended refusal, which is obviously presumably now is what they're demolishing.
Yes.
Oh no, but then, no, but that was a single-storey rear extension.
But anyway, yeah. So we do have to think of certain bits.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, right, next one, 5/2015-2677. This is just to enlarge the extension width, including wider door opening. It's got planning permission already granted. I don't see, no one's ever objected to any of it, so I think it was just something we've decided to do in the build. No objection to that.
It's done the next one.
Next one is done, just over Westway. Thank you for your assistance on that team, by the way. Most difficult one that I've had since I sat here. Anyway, next one, 5/2015-2567. Raising an extension of roof to provide first floor accommodation, 2 Roundwood Lane. Very agree completely with the officer on this one.
Yes.
As long as there is sufficient parking. Bear in mind that part of Roundwood Lane, there is never sufficient parking.
It gets
And it's very near
busy.
because of the public house on the corner and the traffic lights and that. It does get, I mean, it looks...
Who is the bungalow that needs to grow a little? And actually, to be fair, that is very...
I mean, it's only making
what
it
is there now.
It's making it into a dormer bungalow, really,
Yeah.
rather than a... Yeah. No, I wasn't happy with the
Not
I
a
think
problem with that
your
one,
comments,
as
your comments
pointed out.
are perfect.
I think your comments are amazing. As per usual.
Next one doesn't come into us. Certificate of lawfulness. The dormer will district to make a decision on that one. Right, next one. It's a long history, this one. 5/2015, 2687. Removal of condition 5, consulting with the staff members and set the use of the first floor for planning permission. In 2005, for change of use residential to dental surgery. This actually came to us a couple of months ago to use part of next door as a extend it for another surgery, complete consulting rooms.
And this is right?
My own, I'm not, I mean the adjoining property's up for sale at the moment, to be sold as a
You're saying the old post office episode?
sorry?
What was the post office episode?
No, the post office is still there,
Right,
but there is next door, but the post office's lease has run out.
right.
He's speaking to him, because I haven't actually spoken to the dentist, I just know the post office man. He's not sure what's going to happen to the whole development there in the future. It's owned by somebody in Newton, and quite frankly the whole development looks tired. The only really profitable business there is the dental surgery and indeed the dental laboratory, because lots of dentists in Harpenden use them to make their teeth. We've got a laboratory downstairs. Quite frankly, anything that keeps that parade alive. There isn't a problem. There used to be a problem with parking there, but now we've got the little car park at the end. There isn't a problem with parking anymore there.
Yes, I think especially as councillors for this board and somebody who lives very close by, I think, I completely agree with it. I don't think we have any objections. Dental surgery,
I mean,
great job down there.
it's to try and keep the parade alive, as far as I'm concerned. It's not, nobody's losing anything.
I still go with my concerns as per last time, that I object to
Lots of residential accommodation.
well, that plus the splitting of buildings in the manner of I know it's all within one. The splitting of what you might call dwellings is not the right word, but of units.
Yeah. It's just I
and I've
think
also got the concern as to seeing how that post office will be retained in the future. I can't see that under the current rules and regulations staying there. But, it needs
great
to go
questions.
with it.
Having spoken to him, he's had to sell upstairs because he couldn't afford to pay for the rent on the whole property. But it's just it's a difficult one.
So it's leases that are selling, not freeholds.
Yeah. No, the freehold's owned by the landlord.
Yeah.
But I think sometime in the future that will be a...
I suppose I answer myself of the viability of the...
Well, the empty unit's been empty for 2 years.
Of the business is not actually a material planning
No.
So I talked myself out of that one.
No objections.
Yeah, no objections. Right, the next one was 100 Meadway. Again, thank you all for your help on that one. We didn't know who the gentleman was tonight, did we? I don't know who was the developer or it's not Mr. Pinkney.
The chap who was last to leave,
that wasn't Mr. Pinkney.
he was a developer.
He's
There was a conversation that I picked up between he and the chap next to him.
Right.
It was for the other application. They were having a little
Oh,
background
no,
conversation.
so
You may pick up on the
he's the
tape.
builder.
I believe he was a developer.
Because the application's been put in by Mr. Pinkney, who actually lives on West Common. Anyway, that was that.
How do we get back on that one?
Sorry, we've gone past there now. Right. Next one. 5/2015, 2678, part single, part 2-storey, part first floor rear extension, enlargement of front dormer. remodel of elevations and alterations to dormer roofs with pitch to flat, alterations to front, porch and roof, new roof heights, alterations to openings, new openings, resubmission, following refusal. I'm only presuming that this new submission is now to comply with what the officer gave his reasons for refusal. So I'm presuming that they've talked to the officer and agreed. It is quite dramatic what they're going to do to the house, but as in many houses in the uplands, they have done.
Again, I go with the officer's recommendation as laid out.
Yeah,
It's something pretty clear to the youth.
they have done.
Yeah, can I just say that they have pulled in on the ground floor and the first floor, and the comments and refusal have been taken on board from what I could see from the plan. And
Okay, I
that's why I
didn't
made the
actually compare them,
recommendation.
but yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, district will do that, but I'm not anti. If they comply with it, yeah. I'm presuming they've withdrawn the Juliet balcony, have they? The reasons for refusal before, I think. No, it wasn't a reason for refusal. It was on there, but it's not mentioned.
It's on there.
It's not mentioned on the new application.
Concerns about that from previous occasions.
Yeah. Right. Next one. 5/2015/2379. This is. I always worry when they put residential institutions. This is for Hempstead. I mean, I do know a little bit about the background of this in respect of I was at a presentation when they mentioned what their plans were for the future. Obviously, they, as much as any, and probably more than any other establishment in Harpenden, are suffered by not having any hotel accommodation here. They have visitors coming in from all over the world, and they have nowhere to put them in. They use Albury Park on the Hempstead Road, and they use Luton Hill. Are the only two places that they can use locally.
I guess they also make it the transport links, like public transport links to those venues. If you're flying in from somewhere, you probably
Yes, so
don't have a car.
you know. So
I'm aware that some stay as far away as the crest of the Tunstall.
well, could be indeed, yes.
Just by the junction there, because there's motorway.
I mean, I don't think Rothamsted do things badly. Their new buildings are all nicely designed.
Without doubt fits with the plan, the future plan for.
And they will look after it.
I mean, there are no green belt or anything like that issues, are there?
It's going to be a smaller footprint than the original footprint. It's going to be a smaller footprint with walkways. It's going to be lower in height. It's going to have car parking. It's going to have a new road off the existing site side road. Car park is going to have 14 spaces, which is going to be at the rear of the new building, and 11 spaces at the south end of Block B, and it's going to have a bicycle shelter. And the accommodation, they say, is needed for visiting scientists and students studying their PhDs who will be staying for either a week, a month, or however long it takes.
So again, all those not material planning considerations. I mean, as far as I see it, the way that it looks and the rest of it, I haven't got an objection.
No objection at all. No.
And that's obviously to do with the conservation area.
Yeah. There'll be some existing footprint of what they've taken down there. That's going to be to the advantage of Harpenden and Rothamsted. Okay. Right. 5/2015/2445. Demolition of the garage. 2-storey side and part single, part 2-storey rear, and alterations to the openings. 66 Crabtree Lane. No objections from either neighbour?
No, I have spoken to a neighbour and been through it with one of the neighbours, and they were perfectly, well, they seem to be perfectly happy with it. So I explained the plans to them. They seem to be, didn't seem to affect the neighbours at all. It's pulled in from the side boundary on the side of number 64. The side windows are all obscurely glazed on the side of number 68. Didn't seem to have any problems with it.
I agree with your recommendation.
Yes.
Yep. Right. 5/2015 2641. I think I spent 2 hours reading the letters on this one. It is. I spoke to him earlier on this one, and I think lots of the things that have been raised are actual legal, and I think really. My concern is who owns what here, because quite frankly, if you read all the letters that have been put on the internet regarding this whole setup, it is a very, very grey area. Now, the only thing I'll say is I was there at 11 o'clock this morning and there wasn't one parking space available in this development at all, and they've got 16. So the suggestion that they're going to reduce them to 6, and they're going to lose 10, does somewhat alarm me. Now, I'm not sure whether these 16 spaces were taken up by commuters or were taken up by residents, because there's not an actual parking management operating here. Having said that, the comments I have read and the comments I know people who know people who live there as such, the comments that they've had is that majority of the cars there are left there in the daytime because they commute. So in fact, it may not be a commuter problem, it may just be that they can't stay there all day because they're not there.
The residents, you say they're residents on the site,
yes,
and
they're
they are
residents on
commuting, yeah,
I know there's a very grey area regarding who owns the garage is going to be transferred to another company, and that.
That's not material.
I mean, quite frankly, all I would put on it is serious concern about the lack of parking, residential parking spaces.
I went along there as well. I could hardly turn around. There were cars everywhere. All the car parking spaces used up, and then a couple of water maintenance vehicles turned up, and share the same concern that serious lack of parking. And I do believe there is a real grey area over this 999-year lease, and I think it needs to be established first whether legally anybody could do this.
Well, that's not for us to consider.
Yeah, no, I raised that at the beginning. I mean, I think district legal department have to make sure before they approve anything, that the people who are doing it have actually got the legal right to develop it.
But that's not
The question always is with any planning application is, has the person who submitted the application, does he own the bits that he doesn't need to own it.
So David, I can put in an application to redevelop your house.
Yes,
or you mine.
I realise that.
Ownership doesn't matter. It's not material consideration.
No, but he needs permission.
That's a legal matter,
not
a
that's what I'm saying.
matter.
It is a legal matter.
It's a legal matter, not a planning matter. Not for us.
No, it's not for us.
Yeah.
Other than the concern of the loss of parking car park.
Yeah, I see.
Okay.
That's right.
So,
Yeah. Next one, certificate of law was proposed on 5/2015. 2639. 699, demolition of single-storey rear extension and replacement of two-storey. Doesn't come into our, because it's only to do with law for us anyway. Next one, 2015.
It would be cool on that one.
2506, part single, part two-storey rear extension, 8A Southsea Road. I agree completely with what...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, again, nobody's raised an objection.
No, it doesn't affect them. I don't think 45-degree rule would be okay.
Can still comply with. Next one, it says a deemed application. This one has a long history. But, sorry, it's 5/2015/2659. Deemed application on appeal against an enforcement notice for planning permission for a raised platform in the rear garden.
Yeah, so it's a no comment for us, and it's enforcement.
It's enforcement. He went to... Has he gone to the inspector? Or has he gone... I thought it was with the inspector.
I don't know, I couldn't find any information online.
I've had a letter about this from the next door neighbour. It's gone to Plants North regarding this raised platform is being built in such a way that anybody standing on the platform looks straight into their garden and indeed straight into their living room. It is quite high. I know the background to it was an old platform. It was to be taken down to build the extension that was approved on the back. When the platform was reconstructed, because of the land slopes, they've raised it a foot and put it on stilts.
This is certainly, though, it's still an enforcement matter, it's not...
It is.
Was it a...
It's been completely refused. Enforcement to say it's going to be demolished.
Was it a retrospective?
Yes.
Yeah.
They built it, and then the next door neighbour, I think it was sometime, realised that anybody standing on it could see, and they objected, and it's...
As he said, no comment.
Yeah, it was just a point of order.
Yes, no. I think there always was a platform there, which is what the defence is. The fact that it wasn't this height, and I think that's why the neighbours have said.
Still not. We don't need the money.
Yeah, it was just.
Deemed application. I've never seen that word, deemed application. Are they expecting application?
No.
On appeal, deemed application.
Well, because there is a dispute, it's deemed as an application despite the fact that they haven't submitted one.
Oh, right. Because everything's been turned down by St Albans, and enforcement have come in and said, no, it's got to be done.
Yeah, we come.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be reduced to foot.
It's one of those ones that's difficult.
It is. Very clear. Okay, no comment. Right. Next one, 5/2015, 2713, front porch with new bay window.
This is probably very straightforward, but I just think
It was, no, I looked at it, and quite frankly, other people on the road have done a similar thing. All they do is bring out the front bay window and merge it with what was the front door, and make it into a straight along. Just it adds a little bit to the lounge. Or design it into a way around their house. But no,
straight no objection from me.
No, it's only a single story, it's only...
Yeah.
Right, 5/2015, 2736. Single story side and rear extensions, front canopy, loft conversion with front and rear roof lights and alterations to openings. The reason I was late tonight, I was actually linked to this house because I couldn't find it this morning. Unfortunately, I wrote the wrong road to go up, and I was driving up and down. This is big house on a corner plot. My only concern with this, personally, is that the because it's going to have, there's no way to park it, the turning. So the end of Austin Close, the turning bit at the end of the road. So my only concern is with adding an extra bedroom, which obviously it's doing by the loft conversion, is that the garage, because at the moment it's got two parking spaces in front. If both cars are parked on the front, are the garages being used? It's got two garages. If the garages are being used as garages, it's got insufficient parking. If the garages are being used for other things, it's only got two parking spaces, and it should have three.
But I thought our presupposition, we said that even if the garage wasn't being used for parking, it was still counted as a parking space. Because we went through this before.
Yeah, if it's being used for storage of stuff, the next thing to do is, if it's granted, they then can put a planning application in, because they say it's not being used for parking, and therefore they're putting the planning application in.
I think I was thinking on George's line actually. I thought that as long if it had a garage, then it was being stored.
Yeah, so we say, because we haven't, and so we
Yeah.
don't allow that to go down if there's,
But that'd be a subsequent planning application in the future to convert the garage into that. But yes, I mean, if
I think we started on that one because it's a garage. Whether you use it as a garage,
So you use a garage.
or even whether you use a parking space as a parking spaces, we can neither here nor there. Right.
But the idea is always that you keep it as parking for someone else who's there, right?
So I wonder if that's the other garage and belongs to next door.
That was the sort of garden scene for Harpenden.
That could have been the garage, the block of garages in front of it. Yeah, so I guess it could be next door, so I'll give it one garage. So we're going to end up with how many bedrooms?
4.
Oh, we only ended up with 4.
Yeah.
But it's only going to have 2 parking spaces.
So we need to express concern over parking.
No, it's got 2 parking at the moment on the front. No, it has actually. It's got 2 on the front. And plus the garage is 3, so it complies.
That's all right, okay.
For 4, not for 5. So I couldn't see. None of the neighbours have objected. I didn't realise it was such a big plot. I didn't realise there were only such big plots up there on the corner. But I'm open to comments from my colleagues.
From me, no objection.
No objection from either.
Subject to no loss of amenities to the. I mean, they haven't objected yet. It's just the person going up the road as such, around the corner as such. I can't see at the back what overlooks what, unfortunately, because you can't get to the rear of it. So we've got no objection, subject to no loss of amenities to adjoining property. Is that right with you? Right. Next one's for Chris. 5/2015.
Do I have to declare the fact that I'm a smoker and withdraw? Sorry.
5/2015, 2720. It's discharge condition. We don't get involved in it anyway. It was all approved and it's fine. And last but not least, again, discharge of condition 4, sample of materials, 24 bond steam, not required. 5/2015, 2729. Yep, I'll go back to the beginning of the no letters of objection have been received. Appeals, yes, 12 Westway, discussion tonight. I knew about 32 the close, I don't know about the other two. I don't even know where Kennel Cottages are.
Hang on, is that what they're trying to do, where they want to put them sort of behind West Spring Road in? Because there's a bit of contention that's going on up there that there's a plot of land that is, when they built all the houses, it was sold as a plot of land house. Never built on where every other house was built on. It then became Greenbelt. This guy then bought it and bought some of the land behind it, and he wants to use that to create another area of houses.
Is this behind Kingsmore Green Lane, going up the road?
Yeah. So
At the moment they've got horses there and a horse box. But this is behind...
did you know, right, so you go up
Derwent Road, between Derwent Road and the Kingsmore Green Lane. There's a plot of land that was behind
there's
those houses.
Where there's like the road that swings round, so there's so it's like Spring Road at the top and you come back down yourself.
I don't know. I
just think it's...
So this might not be our area.
I'm sure it is our area.
Okay, it might be that St Albans have just sent that one through to us, so they send all the other appeals through.
Because I don't think...
Because Kingsmore Green comes under Redbourne.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Cut-off.
That's the thing, is that I'm not
I've just never heard of Kennel Cottage before.
Okay, that might be...
Don't worry. I'll investigate that, a bit interesting.
That might be correct, but I know that is something that's going on.
Okay.
Any no prior notifications for consideration? I'm sure we've had a nice read of the list of the weekly decisions. Application for tree works doesn't come under our jurisdiction. And the next meeting, we haven't got our next meeting, but my next meeting for Plans North is next Monday at District.
Best of luck.
We've got 2 applications coming for us, both contentious. And Plan Day meeting is on Tuesday the 10th, and presumably we will be 2 weeks later. It looks a bit like the 24th of November to me. And I declare this meeting closed at not 5 to 10, at 5 to 9.